A day after multi-millionaire CEO of Pfizer, the pharma giant, was confronted by two journalists in Davos. A fresh political slugfest has unfolded in India, with Modi's ministers, including Rajeev Chandrasekhar, launching a scathing attack at the Rahul Gandhi Congress party. The minister has accused the opposition leaders of pushing the case of foreign vaccines like Pfizer. In this video that's gone viral on social media, the Pfizer CEO is being harangued by two journalists over what they allege is an ineffective vaccine that was pushed through with influence across the world. Now, the Congress party and its leaders, remember, especially Rahul Gandhi, had been pushing for clearances for the Pfizer vaccine in India ahead of the second wave. And now the BJP is using that fact to beat the Congress up. Take a look at this report.
But we now know that the vaccines do not stop transmission. Why did you keep that secret?
Have a nice day.
I won't have a nice day until I know the answer. Why did you keep it a secret? What do you have to say about young men dropping dead of heart attacks every day? Why won't you answer these basic questions?
A 6-minute video and some very hard questions.
When did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
Thank you very much.
Why won't you answer that question? I mean, we now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret?
An ambush of multi-millionaire CEO of pharmaceutical giant Pfizer that has gone completely viral. For the first time ever, the head of Pfizer is being cornered on Pfizer and BioNTech's mRNA vaccine, touted as a game changer in the big fight against COVID-19.
Are you not ashamed of what you've done in the last couple of years?
Do you have any apologies to the public, sir?
Are you proud of it?
3 years on, several questions have been raised on efficacy and safety of this vaccine against the novel coronavirus. This is the world's costliest vaccine against COVID-19. The most pertinent question asked, the link of this vaccine with heart strokes, which still continues to be studied.
What about the sudden deaths?
What do you have to say about young men dropping dead of heart attacks every day?
While world over, vaccinologists have said that any vaccine against COVID-19 will not prevent transmission and only prevent severe disease, Pfizer said their vaccine was never tested for preventing infection, raising questions on why countries world over then made vaccine passports mandatory and why did then Pfizer hide this information.
Regarding the question around did we know about stopping immunisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
We now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret?
Back home in India, this is playing out as a BJP versus Congress dangal. Union Minister Rajeev Chandrasekhar questioned the Congress for blaming the government for not being able to procure this vaccine. The BJP has hit out at the Congress and the AAP for criticizing Covaxin, India's homegrown vaccine against COVID, and pushing for Pfizer.
Today we've seen the video of the Pfizer CEO in Davos being exposed over the ineffectiveness of the Pfizer vaccines and being asked tough questions. But it reminds us of the time when political parties in India, particularly the Congress party, its leader Rahul Gandhi, likes of Jairam Ramesh and even likes of Arvind Kejriwal were batting for foreign-made vaccine.
Studies world over are still evolving on the link of vaccines with strokes, myocarditis, and this includes Pfizer. In fact, Pfizer's newest bivalent vaccine is also under the radar, with the US FDA and CDC seeing early signs of possible link of this vaccine with stroke. The fact is that the BJP-led central government was under tremendous domestic pressure to bring Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine to India. But there were clauses that were not acceptable to this government. That includes indemnity on also giving out sovereign assets as collateral. These were conditions that the government never really agreed to, unlike many other countries, including Latin American countries, that were continuously arm-twisted by these pharmaceutical giants. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today.
And one of the first ministers of the Modi government to react and use this viral video to attack the Congress has been Rajeev Chandrasekhar. He is in conversation exclusively with India Today's Siddharth Zarabi on what he alleges is Pfizer that tried to bully the Indian government to allow its vaccine into India. This is a super exclusive right on the back of this big India Today news break. Listen in.
I've also been made aware by colleagues about your very strong reaction to a viral video which that event took place not very far from where I am presently, where Pfizer CEO was asked some questions by my media representatives. What's your view on this? Because there was in the past an issue around what Pfizer wanted to do to supply its medicines, its vaccine to India.
Yeah, I think my tweet was really meant to remind my fellow citizens about the difficult times of 2020 and how some people were, their conduct needs to be remembered, and in a sense we should remind ourselves of that. There was these so-called vaccine companies who attempted to bully the government of India and said, look, we will not sell unless the government of India indemnifies us. And, I think they miscalculated by trying to, coerce or threaten Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's government. And he has not been coerced or threatened by worse actors than the vaccine companies. And so that was doomed to fail, and it failed. But what is also interesting, and I think I took this opportunity to remind my fellow citizens, that it is at that same time when this company was trying to bully the government of India, that there were certain, people in the opposition who consider themselves leaders, who were waxing eloquent about, at that time, exactly that time, about how India was putting people at risk by not buying vaccines from these foreign companies. So I think, people tend to have short memories in politics. COVID was clearly a troubling, disturbing time that put everybody in so much of concern and worry. But as we come out of it and as we move forward, it is important to remind ourselves about what people said during COVID, what people proposed during COVID, who said what, who did all the heavy lifting and hard work in protecting our people, and who sat around and tweeted irresponsibly, and which companies tried to exploit the disease and exploit countries that they thought were vulnerable. So I think that tweet was meant to just remind everybody that these things did happen, and we should not forget that.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, as the Congress has been accused of hypocrisy by you, Jairam Ramesh has responded to this and has held a press conference where he basically says, and this is his tweet, mind the language, viewers, this is total bullshit, Mr. Minister. Let not your ambition to climb the greasy pole make you more of a liar than you are. What's your response,
Look,
sir?
Jairam is obviously a poet and fancies himself to be a clever wordsmith. There is a competition in the Congress for people who think they are mighty smart and clever with words. But Jairam and Chidambaram and Rahul Gandhi's role during the COVID pandemic is known. And if he has amnesia, I'm more than happy to constantly remind him, place it in front of him so that he reads his own tweets, his own statements about vaccines, and the challenges and the questions and the aspersions that they cast on Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's efforts at that time. And certainly, I'm willing to even enter into a discussion with them about all of the economic proposals that the so-called intellectual giants of the Congress proposed during 2020, including saying we should be more like the US and we should do this and we should do that. And here we are, the fastest growing economy in the world, with the lowest inflation in a global economy that is beset with high inflations, and in a much better place both economically and from a healthcare point of view compared to the US, UK, and China, all of the countries that otherwise Jairam and his ilk find to be icons. So I would leave it at that. I don't intend to join words with Jairam Ramesh. He is, of course, the PR representative for Rahul Gandhi, and that's his job to do, have press conferences and say things that gain him the currency and favor with his dynasty party. Our party does not work that way. Our government works on work and merit, and so I leave it at that.
Big allegations officially coming out from the government. Joining me live now on the big Pfizer debate that was triggered by my tweet earlier today, highlighting the Rebel News interview where they were questioning the Pfizer CEO, has sparked off this big fire. Joining me live, Sneha Mordani, our health editor, who's been reporting extensively on all issues pertaining to vaccines. Dr. Kaushal Mishra, spokesperson of the BJP. Advocate Mahima Singh, spokesperson of the Congress. Good evening to you. Thank you all for your time. Sneha, very quickly to you first to set the context here. Is the BJP, is the Modi government right in saying that the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, were batting for Pfizer at a time when the company was bullying the government for entry into the Indian market?
Well,
is that accurate?
Absolutely. Congress, in fact, had spoken about it even at that point in time. First, anticipating increase in cases during the so-called third wave of the pandemic that we saw in the beginning of January 2022 shift, and saying that Pfizer is the vaccine that has been approved in kids, so bring it to India. And at the same time, I can also tell you, Shiv, this government actually left no stone unturned in trying to talk to Pfizer, willing to go that extra mile. However, conditions, imagine, like putting your sovereign assets for collateral. Also, indemnity, something that India never really would have approved on. If you recall, Shiv, even Adar Poonawalla came out and said that if you're going to give indemnity to Pfizer and Moderna, you better give it to us as well. The government couldn't have taken these chances. Indemnity, that clause was non-negotiable for the government of India to begin with, and so was the sovereign assets as collateral. These two clauses really could not, do the deal. Also, Pfizer was an expensive vaccine, so the government found it absolutely insensible to bring it at a time when, if you recall, our vaccination program had started on the 16th of January 2021, and a large chunk of the people were already vaccinated. So these were practical issues the government looked at and then did not have a deal with Pfizer or Moderna. Also, to then say that there was no pressure from the opposition, that is being now claimed, is not true, because both the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party exercise enough pressure on the government to bring in these mRNA vaccines to India.
Okay, stay with me, Sneha, because I'm going to come back to you. Advocate Mahima Singh, to you first. The charge is a grave one. It's been insinuated in the past, but this is the first time it's being said so explicitly by a minister in this current government. They say that your party, your leader Rahul Gandhi, were explicitly batting for Pfizer at a time when that company was trying to compromise India's integrity, bully the Indian government for entry into the Indian market. How do you respond?
Good evening, Shiv. Good evening, all. Well, the BJP is doing what they are the best at. This is their forte, playing at their convenience to play the blame game. And let me just say that, before I head to my merit points, let me just say that what we see in this brief video coming in from outside the World Economic Forum is a wonderful display of free press, which is really refreshing to the eyes when you're sitting in a country which is rated at 150 out of 180 in World Press Freedom Index across the globe. Now, coming to the merit, you're talking about indemnity. We are looking at a government that seeks indemnity from its own subjects before the Supreme Court. You see, this government goes before the Supreme Court and says, no, we are not responsible for deaths caused by the vaccines. And that's happened just a couple of months ago. It was on the 29th of November, 2022, that there was a case going on in the Supreme Court.
But that's not the same thing with vaccines. But that's not the same thing with vaccines.
Sorry?
That's not it's not the same thing to do with vaccines, though.
Well, we are talking about the stance of this government. This government very conveniently plays with its stance. In fact, the running away of Albert Bourla today reminded me of Karan Thapar's interview with Modi ji, where he said, "Dosti bani rahe." At least he's wishing him a good day, wishing the journalists a good day. Our Prime Minister, to his own journalist, a journalist from his own country, in a video where he was questioned about the genocide, said that dosti bani rahe, and he walked out of the studio. So you see, we are talking in a country where the Prime Minister has not held a single press conference over 8 years.
No, but
and we
Mahima
would
Singh,
still say
you're
that this
talking about
government,
a range of
again,
different things, but you're not answering the moot point of what I'm talking about, the merit points that you were talking about, which our health editor has also affirmed as accurate, which is that your party was batting for Pfizer at a time when they were trying to bully the Indian government. This is everyone's government.
You cannot, absolutely, it is everyone's government, so it is answerable to everybody. It cannot indemnify itself against its own subjects. The issue in question today, Shiv, to my understanding, is the stance of this government. Today, a minister comes out and puts out his stance to the import of the vaccinations, which was supposed to be done in 2020 when nobody knew anything. And of course, when my leaders spoke out, they wanted a variety of vaccinations, all the options to be open to the consumers of this country.
Okay.
And then it would have been up to the consumer. As a consumer, I would like to have various options. If my country is not operating in solitude with respect to the world,
fair enough.
Talking about
because
the
many of the facts about the Pfizer vaccine
option
that we know now were not known at that point of time. So perhaps it was in that light, that it was being pushed for. Dr. Kaushal, Dr. Kaushal Mishra, the Congress says that, this indemnity issue is a non-starter. That cannot be used as an excuse to say that the government was being bullied, and that you've got no right to point fingers at the Congress party right now just because there are new learnings about the Pfizer vaccine that are known now that were not known back then. How do you respond?
Shiv, it's not about vaccine per se. It's about politics on the pandemic, which was played against government by the opposition leaders, whether it is Rahul Gandhi or it is Aam Aadmi Party or any other leader. It's the main issue is what our minister wanted to say, that the opposition is doing politics on the pandemics without knowing the fact. They are trying to bring something which is not known to them also. They don't have their faith on our government. They don't have their faith on our COVID expert group, which is a scientific group. Government is working on the advice of COVID expert group, which is a scientific group of doctors, experts all over the country. And they are advising the government, or government is acting on their advice. But the politics, what they are doing, opposition is doing the politics of pandemic. That is the question. You can see, it is the news report from 11th November 20, in which the Rahul Gandhi himself is batting for the Pfizer vaccine. I am not against, but they are playing politics. This is the main issue. And another thing, you can see, this is Aam Aadmi Party leader Arvind Kejriwal. So all the parties are playing politics on the pandemic. This is the main issue. It's not about the vaccine. It's not about the vaccine.
Let me bring our health editor in. I just want to affirm that one point. Sneha, while covering, pandemic politics in 2020-21, is that the sense you got as well, that these interjections by Rahul Gandhi, Arvind Kejriwal, etc., were based on political point scoring rather than actual knowledge or for, a vision about benefiting the country during the expected waves? Was it about politics?
Yes, at least in those statements, Shiv, I remember very well when Mr. Gandhi had made a statement on boosters to be given to the population. Let me tell you that it's not the Modi government or the cabinet ministers who were deciding on the boosters. We all know it was the National Technical Advisory Group that still, by the way, has its reservations when it comes to giving out the third dose or the fourth dose of the vaccine, it, and also limited opinion when it comes to giving out the vaccine to younger children. It's always the final word of the entagi that the government of India has had to go by. At a time when we were anticipating a rise in cases, a case was made for more boosters to be given by political leaders like Mr. Rahul Gandhi. And there is enough evidence for us to prove the same. There is information which is even available online that speaks about the fact that he also spoke about logistics for Pfizer and also for giving out these boosters. Certainly a call that the BJP as the government could have not taken. This totally was on the entagi, and I think the government did well in terms of working with the entagi and taking whatever call they had to as far as rollout of the vaccine is concerned.
It's clear that hindsight is going to provide many more such points of conflict, in the lead up to another big political season in this country. Today it's Pfizer. Tomorrow it could be something else. The truth of the matter is much about the Pfizer vaccine is known now that wasn't known then. Does it justify the politics? We're going to leave our readers and our viewers to decide. Thank you very much to all of my guests and Sneha for joining me on this brief discussion. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.